Hello, and welcome to a new video series I'll be doing for school on rallying. In this series, we'll spend 4 videos on topics, and video 1, basics, video 2, rally specific, video 3 will be rally techniques, and video 4 will be me actually doing time stages with pedals, shifter, and wheel cam. So let's get on to video 1. So video 1 will just be weight transfer and drivetrains. So this is basic stuff. So I'll be explaining weight transfer relatively in depth, and then drivetrains will be pretty simple. So let's get started. Number 1, weight transfer. Weight transfer is simply the shifting of the car's weight on its springs. So think about you're sitting inside of a car. Whenever you accelerate, you can feel yourself shift to the back. Whenever you're holding a constant speed, you're sitting comfortably inside the car, nothing's really happening. When you turn right, you shift to the left. When you turn left, you shift to the right. And then when you brake, you shift forward out of your seat, and the seatbelt stops you. So what you're experiencing is weight transfer. When you accelerate, the weight goes to the back of the car. Whenever you brake, the weight goes to the front of the car. When you're doing a right turn, the weight shifts to the outside wheels, so they shift to the left wheels, which is why your body goes to the left. When you're going to the left, then the weight is shifting to the right, or to the outside wheels, which are the gripping point. So what that looks like is whenever you accelerate, the nose pitches upwards. Whenever nothing is happening, it stabilizes. Whenever you brake, it pitches downwards. Simple as that. That is weight transfer. Right. So we know what weight transfer is. Now, how does it benefit us? So, using weight transfer, the 2 things, well, about 3. The 3 things you'll be using weight transfer for are for increasing grip on turn-ins or mid-corners, accelerating out of corners, and linking corners together. So linking corners together, I'll go more in depth on in video 3. Yes, video 3 I'll go more in depth, but I'll go into it here. So number 1, better turn-in on corners. So whenever a car is going inside of a turn, 1 or 2 things can happen depending on your speed and your drivetrain. 1, you can experience understeer, which is whenever the car loses grip on the front tires and it sends the car more straight than it does turn-inning. So if you're trying to do a 90-degree turn, what an understeer would look like is that you'd be going 20 degrees. So I'll cut to a clip of a forward-wheel drive trying to do a 90-degree turn. That way you can see what I mean. Alright, and the second thing that can happen is oversteer. Which is when the car turns past the point and you end up spinning out. Either spinning out or having to countersteer. The third thing that can happen is just that the car turns in and everything is fine. So what happens if you experience understeer? Well, if you're experiencing understeer, you can just tap on the brakes. What that does is it shifts the weights forward onto the front wheels, which then increases grip on the front wheels, which we use for turning in. So when you tap on the brakes, the front wheel gets grip and the car is able to turn in. Right. That's the first thing we use weight transfer for. The second is accelerating, which is simple. Because you accelerate, you use the rear tires to accelerate most of the time. So whenever you gas, the weight goes to the back and you accelerate out of a corner. Right, easy as that. And the third thing is for increasing grip through a corner. So whenever you're doing a turn, maybe you're not on the turn-in portion, but you're starting to understeer midsection, right? Alright, so the entry is fine, but then you start understeering, so then you have to tap the brakes. Alright, which is still basically step 1, but mid-corner. Right, so now we understand what weight transfer is, how we use it, and when we use it. So, now that we understand weight transfer, we can go ahead and move on to the second part, which are drivetrains. So, there are 4 types of drivetrains. There are 4-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and 4-wheel drive. So we are currently in a 4-wheel drive, so we'll be going backwards on the list. So, a 4-wheel drive has a locked differential, and what that means is that all the wheels have to spin at the same rate. So, when you're doing a circle, the inside wheel has less of a radius to go than the outside wheels, right? So what they should do is they should be spinning at different speeds to allow for the greatest grip for the rotation that it needs. So what a lock differential does is it makes the inside tires spin as fast as the outside tires despite not needing to. What this can do is it can increase grip levels exponentially on loose surfaces, but on hard and smooth surfaces such as tarmac, it can lead to unpredictability, and sometimes that can be very bad for you, depending on what type of stage you're on. Right. And the similarities between a 4-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive are pretty much everything except the differentials. Right. So this is a 4-wheel drive, so all the powers get delivered to all the wheels. Right, so you can just do donuts all day, and it's practically in the same spot as you can see by that little tire mark there. Right, it's pretty much in the same spot. Here we are in a 4-wheel drive. What a 4-wheel drive does is that the power is delivered to the front tires, so the car is being pulled. What this does, it creates understeer 95% of the time. So when you want to make a left hand, it doesn't go all the way to like 90 degrees, right? You throw it in there, and you can hear it sliding. And that is understeer. The way we counter understeer is with either handbrake or with left foot braking. Left foot braking is braking, but just with your left foot, so basically you just brake. And what braking does is weight transfer, so it transfers the weight to the front, which increases the grip on the front tires, which is the reason why the car is understeering. Because the front does not have enough grip, so when you put some grip on the front tires, well then it turns in. Okay, so now we're here in a rear-wheel drive. So, if a forward-wheel drive understeers 95% of the time because it's being pulled, then a rear-wheel drive will oversteer 95% of the time because it's being pushed. So it's pretty much the opposite of a forward-wheel drive. So if a forward-wheel drive, you make a 90-degree turn and you have to use the brakes to turn in a rear-wheel drive, you just have to let off the gas or else you'll oversteer into the turn, right? So for example, I want to make a turn right. If I just do the gas, it'll oversteer. So in order to combat this oversteer, you have to both let off the gas and countersteer. And countersteering is self-explanatory. You steer to counter the turn. Alright, so you have to feather the throttle, right? So say for this turn, you heard I didn't just put in full throttle, or else this will happen. If I go like this, and then I just gas it, boom. Little oversteer. And just there, as you saw, I tried to get out of it because I had too much gas. I ended up oversteering twice in a row. Right, so that's the rear-wheel drive. Now that we covered weight transfer and the drivetrains, now we can go ahead and move on to video 2, which are rally specifics such as pace notes, how we use weight transfer in turns, etc., etc.